Welcome to the See Me Be Me podcast. I'm Nile Henry.
And I'm Blair Henry.
And we're two brothers who set out on a mission to make motorsport and STEM careers more diverse, affordable, and inclusive. We are the founders of the Blair Project.
This podcast series delves into the minds of inspirational individuals who come from ordinary and often humble backgrounds, but through their belief, dogged determination, and never give up attitude, have managed to overcome academic, social, or mental challenges to achieve their dream careers.
Our guests will share their life lessons that you too can apply to your own. We hope their stories will inspire you to go further, aim higher, and accept nothing less than you deserve. Your ambition, your purpose is all within, and we're here to help you unlock it. The planet of possibilities are endless. You know who made it. Hello and welcome to the See Me Be Me podcast. Today we are joined by a multi-award winning author, presenter, and she's also a UN delegate for women. Today we have on the amazing Lashai Ben Salmi. Welcome, Lashai.
Oh, thank you both for having me. I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, we look forward to having you on the podcast. So first of all, tell us, what's it like to be a multi-award winning author?
The funny thing, I think I don't really think about those accolades. I'm very appreciative for those acknowledgements. But for me, I'm always like, what can I do? What's next? What more can I do? How can I give? How can we go bigger? So I'm grateful for the acknowledgements, but I think I'm more driven by the impact I'm seeing and the smiles I get to see on people's faces. So I truly am appreciative.
And for the audience listening to this, what were the books that you wrote about, and how did you go about getting them nominated for an award?
So my books range from things like anti-bullying and entrepreneurship and enterprise for young people, and then all the way to social media and some things in that space. So I co-wrote and published my very first book at the age of 11 with my younger brother, Lashai Ben Salmi, who would have been about 6 or 7 at the time. So it was a really fun experience, and we done it purely because we had been fortunate to learn so much and be exposed to certain things. And we thought, how can we translate this into something that young people can understand and benefit from? So our very first book, it was called Kids That Dream Big, Essential Tips on How to Have Fun, Dream Big, and Make Money Doing What You Love. And that's all around our bullying experience, because unfortunately, myself and my siblings have experienced bullying at various phases on our journey. And it was really horrid and difficult. And back in the day, there wasn't much awareness or resources. So we wanted to be that beacon of light and hope for young people, and then leave them with something positive and the next steps that they can pursue. So now that you've been able to go on this journey of self-development, now it's time to pursue your ideas and passions. So the book closes with some enterprise tips, some financial freedom tips, and things like that.
You slightly touched on it there, Lashai. My question was going to be just taking it back to your childhood. What was the school experience like for yourself, and how did that essentially affect you in terms of getting started as an entrepreneur?
That's a wonderful question. I think for me, I struggled in school, not so much academically, but with the confinements in terms of you had to be this. And I remember the point that it really clicked for me. I think I was in year 7 or year 8 in secondary school. And there was a whole school presentation around how we're just a number. And if we don't make it through this funnel, we're not going to get employed, or we're not going to be able to X, Y, and Z. And that frightened me to my core to think that, wow, like this is all school sees me being. So I struggled at time. I was fortunate at moments because I had lovely teachers that believed in me and believed in some of the external things I wanted to do and was doing at the time. But then I had the flip side of that, where I wanted to give some books to my school, and I was sent home with them saying that they had no interest in adding them to the library. Or so just a mix of experiences. So hope, there was a little bit of hope, but it was also very difficult.
And who was your biggest role model growing up?
Well, I would have to say my mum. I watched her very closely. When I saw her do something, I was like, I want to do it too. she inspired me to go on that journey of writing my very first book because I saw her do it. When she was taking on clients or working with the community, I would mirror what she was doing with the adults and try and go and teach the kids. So she's always been one of my biggest role models.
Mm.
We had I mean, we on one of our previous episodes we did interview Sabrina, and I remember when we were interviewing Sabrina, I remember one of the quotes in particular. She said it was I believe it was the Ben Salmi teamwork makes the dream work. So
Yes.
it's almost installing that belief in all five of her children. So I was just wondering, Lashai, was your mother very instrumental in giving you the belief that you could go out and achieve anything that you set your mind to?
Definitely. I think my mum played a huge role in expanding my awareness, allowing me to see and experience the world in a different way,
Yeah.
which I understand not everyone has the opportunity to do that. We are in no way from a well off background, but she went out and put in the work. She had a huge love and still does for the community. So she would just take me along when she was going to business events or got invited to seminars or to give keynotes. I would just tag along to these things. And initially, I was not a perfect child. I wasn't this child that came out the womb and was like, I want to learn and do all this out of the box stuff. I completely disliked it at first because when I started going to these events, it was just after I had gone through severe bullying in school. So I wanted to isolate. I didn't enjoy socializing. So it really took me out of my comfort zone. But following her into those environments, it definitely did encourage me.
Mm. And you come from a family full of entrepreneurs. So if you take us back through, are you the oldest? Are you the
Yes.
oldest sibling? Yeah, yeah. And so, how has it been through as a family of entrepreneurs? Have they looked up to you and seeing what you've been doing and then following suit, or is there any other businesses where you all work together? Or
Yes, I would like to take some credit for the inspiration that some of them may have taken on board, but I think we inspire each other. I think the beautiful thing about our family is that we learn both ways. It isn't just youngest to eldest. I find that I learn so much from the youngest, who's Amir, and he'll come up
Mm,
with an amazing idea, and I'll say, "Oh, let's work on that together." So we have been able to unlock many doors and be creative and tap into that creative essence of that intergenerational conversation because coming from various backgrounds sometimes culturally it isn't acceptable for the kids to input upwards. So we've had that nice fluidity here at home, and there are various projects that we get to work on together, so it's been really exciting.
and can you tell us about the one of your projects? Is it Precious Girls? You do a lot of work within Korean culture. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Of course. So Precious Girls was a phenomenal award that I won when I was about 11 or 12. It's one of my accolades that is very near and dear to my heart, and that's run by an amazing team. And I was just an award recipient. I've been supporting their work ever since, but they're a wonderful team. But in
Oh,
terms of some of the Korean work I get to do, one thing about me ever since I've been little, I've always been fascinated about cultures and learning languages and connecting with different people. And I remember being so young and sometimes seeing the news, and it might sound a bit ignorant now, but I would say, "Oh,
Yeah.
why are there so many issues? I wish everyone would just be friends or learn about one another." Because sometimes a simple conversation can heal the world or solve many of the issues that we see and face today throughout the world. So with my Korean projects, one of them is called HaluCon. So we're one of the UK's first Hallyu platforms that aims to showcase and highlight Korean culture and the Korean wave with the support of the Korean government. We work very closely with them. But we don't only promote Korea, we also provide a safe space to facilitate that multicultural conversation and cultural exchange. So we get to work with people all across the globe, and we're all united by this interest in Hallyu and Korean culture, cuisine, fashion, music, and everything in between. And we've seen such wonderful effects with people that struggle with mental health, being able
wow.
to really come out of their shell and seek help and find a safe environment where they can immerse and be themselves. And we've also raised money for various charities. So we get to do many interesting things.
And you were awarded you were given an award for the Korean First Lady. Was it the Korean First Lady Award? Was it?
Yes, so I one of the awards that I've won in that space, I was presented by the First Lady of South Korea, well, the previous First Lady of South Korea, and then another award that we were presented with here was as Korean Wave representatives due to our contributions and work in the space.
Wow. And Lashai, I was reading that, being that you're an author, publisher, and like international public speaker, what are some of the amazing activities that you're doing now and the impact of those activities?
Of course. So one of the really exciting projects that we're working on, we took a break over the summer holidays, but we've been doing a national school tour. So we've been going to schools throughout London, both traditional schools and SEND schools, and raising aspirations with the young people and not just leaving them motivated. I remember being in school and they'll bring in a wonderful speaker and everyone's pumped, but then it's like, oh, what's the next step? Or who's going to help me implement whatever I've learned? So we've been supporting these schools to raise aspirations, but also raise employability or whether they want to go into entrepreneurship, and providing them with substantial support and guidance and hand-holding so that they can perhaps create a product and launch it or write their very first book. So that's been really, really exciting. And then on the more Korean side of what I do, we're working towards our really big, large annual event that takes place. This year it's happening at Samsung KX, which is a phenomenal space.
Yeah.
And that's going to be all around Korean culture and allowing people to indulge. And we'll have some performances and things.
Fantastic. Going on, I want to take it back onto the Korean culture bit. In terms, because generally, in the UK, when somebody's learning a language, the first couple of ones is probably Spanish, it's probably German or French. But you learn Korean. I don't know if you can speak Spanish, German, or French. The basic ones. Well, not basic, but they're the natural ones that we get taught in school. Where did your interest in wanting to learn the Korean language and Korean culture where did that come from? Or was it to do with anything? The last couple of years has been the K-pop boom, and it's all over. Radio, YouTube, all over media. Did it come from that, or was this way before K-pop arrived in the UK?
Funny enough, this was actually way before like K-pop was cool and interesting.
Yeah.
So for me, I think I first dabbled and got involved in the space when I was about 12, so over a decade now. So I've been able to really see the growth in the space. We also, myself and my co-founder, we were part of a really interesting documentary podcast series that we done with the BBC, all around the sort of growth, because I think it's so fascinating to so many people, like how did this boom? Where did it come from? How did it originate and all these things? So don't get me wrong, I did try Spanish and French. They just never stuck. I had like private tutors, school tried. I just never caught on. But with Korean, funny enough, I think it's one of the easier languages to learn. And it wasn't that hard to pick up. I'm in no way fluent, but if anyone wants a bit of a challenge, I would say you could probably learn the Korean alphabet over the weekend and pick up a few really simple words. But I think what drew me to Korea in particular was, yes, the amazing media, the culture, the music, the food even, and the fashion, but it was the familiarity. There are so many things for me. So I'm of St. Lucian and Nigerian descent, and there were so many things that felt really familiar, whether it was from food or sounds in the language. So it felt like a second home and very familiar. And then there's this wonderful community that I was exposed to as well. So that's what drew me in.
So, and I think the natural next question is, have you been to South Korea, and what's it like?
Yes, I've been. It is absolutely amazing. I think funny enough, even within the K space, we try to like balance expectations. Like, don't go to Korea thinking that it's this magical place, but it's magical to me. It's beautiful. I think they have such a rich history and heritage, and they're a blend of so many different inputs. So it's a wonderful environment. And if anyone's a foodie listening or watching this, definitely try Korean food, even if you can just get it here. But in Korea, it's amazing as well.
I'm not gonna lie, I tried the Korean fried chicken, and it is super. It is fire. It closely rivals KFC. But yeah, it is pretty good. It's pretty good. Now, Lashai, what does an average day look like for you?
I think for me, no 2 days are the same, and I don't know whether to be grateful for that or try and run out the house. But no, every day is magical in its own way. We get to work on so many diverse things. Like one day might be being on governmental calls and trying to like raise funding for various groups or support various missions. Another day might be family days out, and I think so many people are fascinated by the fact that we have so many different ages still happy to be under one roof. So it's really fun. We're forever learning. We get to explore, travel. So I'm really grateful.
I was reading from your bio, Lashai. You seem to be a strong believer in words having the power to inspire and motivate others to essentially fulfill their full potential. So, who are some of the main clients that you've worked with in your career, and how have you helped them unlock their full potential?
Oh, so for me, I've been able to work with many interesting people, and I'm so very grateful. For example, obviously, through the Korean government work I do, we work with a wonderful Korean government organization here in the UK called the Korean Cultural Centre UK. Definitely check it out if you're interested in delving into Korean culture a little bit more. We put on some wonderful events and also courses that people can go on. We also get to work with UN Women UK. I work very closely with them, and all the work there is really about empowering women, safeguarding and raising awareness or even funding because there's so much that's needed within that space. So I'm really grateful for the work I get to do in that space. I also work with a phenomenal organization called Regan Hillier International, and we have a wonderful youth department where every year we give away, I think it's close to almost 100K worth of resources and support and coaching and mentoring to
Yeah.
for young people. So that's just a few of them, but we get to do some amazing things. And recently for our school tour, we were also working with the Virgin Money team, and they are amazing. They were a part of our school tour in the essence that they also have a program called Make £5 Grow, which also
Oh.
promotes entrepreneurship. So yes.
And just on going on that topic of young people that you were just mentioning that you're supporting, what are, let's say, some of the challenges that some of the young people that you work with, what are some of the main challenges that they face?
Oh, I think for young people nowadays, I think some of the older generation look at young people today and say, "Oh, you have so much. Like, what do you have to complain about?" But sometimes when you have access to so much, it's where do I start? And with access to so much, there's new challenges that have developed over the past 5 to 10 years.
Yeah,
So I think the main thing with young people today is that they're actually needing that handheld holding. They're not needing necessarily like a PDF or a motivational speech. They need tangible on-site, on-the-ground support.
yeah,
And it's also being able to rely on someone, being
yeah,
able to rely on a role model. Because I think for young people, it's the most heartbreaking thing when someone says they're going to be there for you or support you and they're not, or they're going to be there for you and it's just the motivational speech and there's nothing after that. So I think there's a real need for mentorship, fellowship,
yeah.
and just that, even like playing back into what we had a bit more of when I was growing up, which is, oh, maybe like an older brother figure or an older sister figure, even
Yeah.
in the professional sense. So yes, I would say a lot of that is really needed.
It's very
And
similar to what Sabrina was saying when we had her on the podcast. I believe she mentioned it was about the importance of nurturing character in some of our young people, and that's how we essentially create their mindset for them to achieve or fulfill their full potential. So, if, a lot of similarities in what you said with your mother when she was on as well. So,
Yeah.
go on now.
and I was just going to say, what's the age range of the young people that you work with
Oh,
in
so
terms of the mentoring?
we work with the whole spectrum. So we've worked with kids as young as 2, 3, up to young adults. So the whole spectrum, because everyone needs something different. So I think it would be wrong of us to just focus on maybe 13 to 17 or just focus on early years. I think if you're nurturing young people throughout each of their stages, like if you're able to plant that seed when they're 2 or 3, by the time they're 10, they won't need to play catch up. They'll be able to consistently grow the seed that you've planted in them at that young age. So we work with the whole spectrum in different ways because a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old will need something different to an 18-year-old. So we provide something different for all of them.
an interesting thing is that, especially for myself and Blair, and we've had other guests who are from an entrepreneurial background, and quite often they've said their role models were their parents or a family member who was a business owner. For the young people that you work with who, for example, don't have that role model at home or don't have a family member who is an entrepreneur, how has that been in terms of uh, that coaching and mentoring, and then getting them to um, want to take action to become their own boss? How has that process been?
I think, and that's a wonderful question. I think it's a bit different for everyone. And sometimes it's tapping into the things that we might not consciously think about. Because when we're thinking of this concept or idea of teaching young people entrepreneurial skills, they know how to maybe sell each other chocolate bars. I'm sure they've done created content or written things and uploaded it to the internet. So the base of those skills are already there. So it's just allowing them to become aware or reminding them of the greatness that's in them or the skills that they already have, and allowing them to tap into it. And I think for some of the young people that perhaps don't have role models in the household or even online that they look up to, it's reminding you that you can be your own hero to start out with. You can be the person that motivates you. You can be proud of you yesterday or you last week because you've made progress to be it today. So, yes, sometimes we might navigate and say, oh, this person could be a role model or of guidance to you because they're in a similar field. Or you could choose to be the first that does X, Y, and Z thing and be your own role model and set an example for everyone that comes behind you.
Now, Lashai, what I wanted to ask is, with your family, the Ben Salmi family, that's yourself, Trayshawn, Yasmin, Paulo, and Amir. So, are there currently any projects that you're currently working on with your other siblings, and what are these projects?
Yes. So one of the ones that we're looking to currently expand and that we're still working on is the school tour I mentioned earlier. So obviously over the school break, no one was at
Yeah,
school. So we're looking to relaunch that soon and tap into some more schools because we've seen wonderful results. And it truly broke our heart, especially going into the SEND schools
yeah,
where they're taught that they will never amount to anything or that the workplace can't suit them or that they can't do anything. So they're given all of those barriers already, so by the time they maybe do finish school, it's been ingrained in them that they can't amount to anything. So
yeah,
working with those young people, but also the institutes, because I think it's wrong to empower the person, but the institute remains the same and isn't ready to receive them. So we're
yeah,
doing some very interesting work in terms of working with schools to prime their students for different prospects, but also working with corporate organizations to make sure that their environments are able to support these young people that are going into them eventually. So
yeah,
that's one project that's very near and dear to our heart. A few others I can't speak about, but I'm very excited about within the education entertainment space as a whole.
oh,
And then one of the big dreams and goals that we're working towards as a family is the Ben Salmi Family World Tour, where we're planning to go around the world, not just into educational institutes, but even just into various communities and really make a change and plant that seed for growth and change and empowerment. So, yes.
oh, wow. I mean, I guess touching on schools and fulfilling potential and whatnot, what advice would you give to schools or like education institutions on how we can nurture the talent of our young people?
Definitely. I think there's layers to it. I think the people at the top, let's pour into our teachers because the way teachers are currently treated, be that through pay or resources, like there are some teachers that are using their own money and going out and having to buy resources for their classes or for their
Yeah,
students. And that isn't right. We live in a world where there's so much opportunity, resources. These schools should be getting them so that the teachers can be in that pure essence of how can I empower these young people and not have to struggle because no one can give their best from struggle. So really that downward pour of making sure that teachers and educational leads have access to the resources that they need. Then teachers remembering that our students and these young people that you're basically a steward for at this current moment in time, you
yeah,
have the power to make or break their dreams. So really pouring into them and asking for help when help is needed. And it isn't always easy to ask for help. So
yeah,
even sometimes when we go into schools, were well received, but initially they're a bit apprehensive, thinking like, oh, isn't this something we can do ourselves? But by the end of the session or the speech, they say, thank you so much. And when can you come back? So asking for help is important, but also speaking to the young people. I think sometimes there's such a divide in schools where it's like, we're the teachers, these are the students, and you have to listen to us, but ask them questions. Kids are always so eager and ready to get involved, whether you allow one year group or a class to be in charge of maybe the school newsletter. If any of
Yeah.
them are interested in copywriting, they then get to put that experience on their CV. So allow your students to tap into whatever they're passionate about and ask for help. I would say those are the two major things.
Excellent. I love that. I love that. So, Lashai, you've accomplished quite a lot at a very young age, and we had on our last guest, we spoke about in terms of entrepreneurship, you sometimes from a let's say a marketing angle, you only see like the positives, the great things that are happening, but when there's challenges, when there's a lows, you have it's that what do you do in that time to bring yourself up and out of it, and how did you face those challenges head on? So my next question is, what has been the biggest hurdle that you've had to overcome so far, and how did you overcome it?
Oh, I think for me, every day presents a different hurdle, but some of the most substantial ones I would say is being a young person and a young lady definitely is it's a double whammy within the space of entrepreneurship or business. But I think having to convince other people or try to raise awareness on something that you truly believe and you can feel it and you know the impact and them not getting it, I would say that's the biggest hurt. And I think another thing as a young person, especially in my very early years of being in this space, was people not keeping their word. It's a big thing. Like imagine you're a young person and your parents turn around and say, we're going to go to Disneyland. And then it gets to Saturday and you're like, oh, you said we we're going on the weekend. And it's like, oh, no, who said that? So keeping your word and following up with young people, because that sets the tone for how they'll perceive relationships in the future. Will they trust people? Because a big part of business and entrepreneurship is collaboration, right, and trust. So I would say those are two of the biggest hurdles for me. And then some of the internal stuff. I was not born perfect. I'm still growing and learning. I'm a natural introvert, so even speaking for me was difficult, or presenting or putting myself out there. So those are some of the biggest hurdles that I'm still battling and overcoming. But I think it's just remembering to own your space. And perhaps if you don't share your message today, or if you don't take that first step on this journey, it means that someone that needs your help or support or needs to be inspired by you isn't going to get that.
Now, Lachey, I mean, the work that you and your family are doing to change the lives of so many young people is very inspirational. But on, I guess, more of a personal question to yourself, what does success look like to you?
Oh, I think success to me, it might sound a little bit morbid, but success to me is knowing that I'll perhaps be on my deathbed one day and I won't have any regrets. And I will know that I gave enough, and that I shared all that I had access to, and that I left a mark on the planet in some way, shape, or form. And that isn't from a place of vanity or people knowing about me or X, Y, and Z, but it's knowing that I caused some sort of positive shift whilst my time here on this wonderful planet. I think that's my idea of success.
And is it that passion that just wakes you up every single day? I've got to do this, I've got to do that, and whatnot, and I want to leave. It's essentially a long-lasting impact on the people that you're working with. Is that?
Yes, definitely. I think it's between that deep passion and desire, and sometimes Amir wakes me up. So one of the two keeps me going.
And then, what would you say is some of the most, I guess, rewarding projects? What's like the most rewarding project that you've worked on, maybe in the last year?
I think some of the most rewarding projects, definitely some of the wonderful work that we get to be a part of with UN Women UK, and raising awareness, raising funds, and all of that work is so, so important and very near and dear to my heart. The work that we get to do within schools and seeing that ripple effect. and also with many of my Korean projects, because I think when you feel as though something is your very niche hobby or interest, it's this thing of, oh, will other people be interested? Will new people come on board? But I'm very proud to say that over the years, we've been running for about 3-4 years now. And we've
Yeah.
been able to reach over 7.5 million people and growing. And that is so rewarding and exciting for me, and being excited for what the future holds and how all of those projects and achievements will grow. So yes, those, I would say those ones.
Excellent. And in terms of what would you say is your proudest achievement today?
Oh, I would say that my proudest achievement isn't necessarily like an award or an accolade or even like a big milestone, but my proudest moment was when I decided to make that shift from being in almost like a victim mindset, obviously coming out the other end of bullying, and
Yeah.
deciding to do something. Because that's a big deal, and I don't think people think about that. When you make that moment, and when you make that decision to understand that your adversity can empower you, I think that's a big, big thing. And so many people overlook it or say, oh, like it was just something I went through and I don't think about it that much. That was a big deal to keep going and to do something positive in the world, because it's very easy for a negative or hurtful situation to turn you into a bitter person. So yeah.
And on the back of that, the bullying that you received, you wrote a book on it, but also you developed an app. So, can you tell us a bit about the anti-bullying app that you created?
Definitely. So this was in the very, very early days of all of this. But myself and my younger brother Trey Sean, we came up with this whole anti-bullying campaign called "Put the Red Card Up to Bullying," because we were just trying to think of what's something people know that a red card isn't a good thing, and what's something noticeable, and what could be well received in schools, and how could it be, might sound odd, but how can it be fun to talk about these things? How can it be a positive thing to raise awareness on these topics and to promote healthier behavior and getting access to help? So that was a campaign that we came up with. We began the stages of also developing an app so that young people could have somewhere to come and seek help, or to come and gain closure or support. So that was something that was really empowering for us to be able to do, being people that had experienced bullying, and then to use our adversity as something to propel us to do something positive.
Wow. And then what I wanted to touch on now, Lachey, in terms of, I mean, you seem to be the sort of person that likes to put yourself at the deep end, and if you see something that you set your mind to, you go out there to achieve that goal. But what I wanted to ask next is, if there was someone who was interested in maybe like setting up a business one day, or let's say they wanted to basically follow their dreams and passions, what would you say are 3 key skills that you've taken with you on your journey to make you as successful as you are today?
Oh, I think for me, I think why these 3 points that I will share with anyone listening will be important, especially coming from a natural introvert, is
Yeah.
tapping into collaboration. I think there's a saying that I really love, and it's, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. So even trying to create a team around you that has a similar end goal or a similar idea. And when I say a team, it doesn't mean in the formal corporate sense. It could be 3 of your friends at school and you start something together. Maybe one friend likes to make edits on TikTok. Hey, you can be in charge of our video editing. Another friend
Yeah.
likes to write articles and publish them. Hey, you'll be in charge of all the copy for this. Maybe you're really passionate and well spoken. You'll be the spokesperson. So it's tapping into the skills that your current network have. So I would definitely say collaboration. And the next would be something I think anyone that uses TikTok would love, but be delusional, okay? Because whatever limits you believe are there are going to be true. So if you just believe that there are no limits, things always work out for me. If one door closes, 10 more will open. So it's a way to keep yourself going, because if you dwell on everything that goes wrong, you're not going to get very far. I do believe that there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. So if you get a no, okay, that's feedback, right? When you go to say you go to an event and they send everyone a feedback form and you say that oh, would you like to come to another event? No.
Yeah.
They don't say, oh my gosh, this event failed. They take it on as feedback and say, oh, what might we do different, or what can be done next time? So understanding that there's no such thing as failure, only feedback, and being a little bit delusional at times. And then lastly, I think remembering to rest. I think everyone sometimes has this glamorous idea that I'm going to go from my 9 to 5 to being an entrepreneur, which means that I'm going to be able to sail around the world on a yacht and I'm going to have so much free time, which like can be true. But sometimes you end up working longer hours as your own boss than you would in a traditional job. And that isn't
Mm.
to put yourself off, but it's remembering to take that time off, pour back into yourselves. Because if you're empty, and you're trying to fill up someone else's cup, it's gonna be horrible and it's gonna take forever. So I would say those three things if you would take away anything.
I am very guilty of working all the hours that God sends, and I do need to like sometimes take my not take. You can never really take your foot off as an entrepreneur, but look after yourself. Rest a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's all fun. It's all fun at the end of the day. You're doing something that you love to do. So, yeah, that's I guess that's part of the chicken and egg. But you wrote a program, the Stepping Stone Formula, how to work smart and not hard, but for YouTube. Can you tell us
Yes.
a bit about that?
Yes, I would say one of the things that, funny enough, helped me with building up my confidence was tapping into social media, which is really throwing yourself in the deep end, going from I don't want to be seen to maybe the whole world will see me. So I started up a YouTube channel predominantly in the Korean space because I was so interested in the space. So when I got into it, it was still very hush hush. You were a little bit weird if you were interested in such things. So I had my little friendship group, but I was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if there was a wider global community of people who also enjoyed this or had this interest? So I jumped onto YouTube, would make videos and tapped into that space. But I learned so much through that journey. I think my channel grew to over 5 million views pretty quickly and a
Wow.
really amazing community. So I was like, oh, I've learned all these wonderful things. So I decided to put a program together that I've been able to present internationally and people have been able to take things away. But it's a very very introductory sort of course into the space, and it doesn't really throw you into the deep end of SEO and understanding all this heavy stuff, but it's mainly around, okay, what is your goals, what's your aims, what do you want to do, what sort of platforms would work for you? Because I think sometimes people think they need to tackle every platform and conquer everything, but sometimes it's good to nurture one thing, grow it there, and then funnel onto other platforms. So yeah.
And let's say our audience listening to this, if they were interested in getting that program, where can they go to find that?
Oh, that program is currently available on my website, which is lifeaccordingtolashai.com, and you'll be able to find a few other goodies there.
Excellent, excellent. And so, one of, I suppose, what piece of advice would you give to a young person who is thinking about, or even an adult as well? They've done something in their lives and they think, oh, I'd like to write about this and become an author. What are the first steps you need to do in order to look at writing something and getting it published?
Oh, I would say the umbrellaing thought that I would like to leave with everyone is get it done, then get it right. So get it done in terms of if you feel the passion, you feel the drive, write it in your phone notes, write it on a notepad that you can keep somewhere. At least you're getting it done and outputting in that way. Then you can jig things and put everything where it needs to be and formally structure it. And if we're talking about in terms of the steps and how to formally create a book, look for inspiration. So, is there perhaps a book that you like the feel of, the look of? Because every book is different. They might be structured differently. Are you going to write fiction, non-fiction? Is it a self-help book? Will it be a book of quotes? So, deciding what you want your book to look like and then getting it done, outputting, and then asking for help. There are so many wonderful platforms out there. We support various authors, be that young people, organizations, world leaders, with getting their books out and published. And if you can go down the traditional route of going to a traditional publisher, which is a bit more difficult because they tend to like to work with people who perhaps have large platforms, or the splits in terms of profit share and all those things can be a little bit sticky. If you find a wonderful traditional deal that works for you, phenomenal. But then there's also the route of self-publishing that it's really nice. It gives you a bit more flexibility as well. So yeah, I would say decide what you would like to write, what kind of books you like the feel of, deciding how you want your book to feel and look, what you want your readers to potentially take away, and then finding the right publishing option for you.
Excellent. And before we go off to the bonus questions, I read that there, even there's the family mantra, but you've got your own mantra, which is just 3 lines. Can you tell our audience what it is?
Oh, I've had a few mantras over the years.
Okay.
It might be, so there's one that I love to share, that no one can walk your walk, no one can dance your dance. You're beautiful, perfect, and unique just the way you are. I don't know if that's the one you were hoping for.
It wasn't that one, but that one was beautiful. That was really good. It starts with "I'm ready to be."
So I think that's like our family anthem. So it's like I'm ready to be somebody. I'm ready to go somewhere. I'm ready to wake up and pay attention. And then there's the second verse of asking the question, are you ready to be somebody? Are you ready to go somewhere? Are you ready to wake up and pay attention? Yes.
Do you know what? I need that on my wall every morning. I wake up and just say, I'm ready to be somewhere. I'm ready to pay attention. And just go and get it throughout the day. I love it. I might have to steal it and use it myself. No, but this has been great. This has been great, Lashai. And now we're going to head into the bonus part of the podcast, where I'm going to ask you 3 questions, all fun, although just to warn you though, the first question is I do judge my guests on. So I don't know if you've seen the podcast episode with your mum. I think she gave me the right answer as well. So me and her are on good terms. It might be different with yourself, but as long as you give me the right answer, it's fine. It's all good. Okay, so the first question is, does pineapple belong on a pizza?
I don't know if it's possible for me to get this question wrong or right, because I don't eat pizza because I'm lactose and gluten intolerant.
You got yourself a safe.
A good pop out.
That's a good little cop out. All right, we'll change the question since you are lactose intolerant. Okay, first one then. If you could throw a dinner party and you could invite 3 guests, who would they be and why?
Oh, 3 guests. Oh, that's a good question. Oh my head's gone blank of everyone now. Okay, for now, and this is another cop out, I think I'll say like a little family dinner. I'll pick whatever 3 siblings are nice to me on that day. But I'm sure there's some wonderful world leaders existing past that could come instead.
And can you name the 3 siblings just in case the ones that don't get featured,
based on behavior over the past 2 days, I would say Amir, Yasmin, Trey Sean. Paolo's been a bit cheeky with me, so maybe he can come later.
So yeah, sorry, Paolo, just not today. Maybe on another day you will be at the dinner party. Second question: if you could travel anywhere in the world right now, where would you go?
Ooh, anywhere in the world. Ooh. I would love to visit. Where have I been? I think I would like to go back to Bali. It's such a beautiful, beautiful place, and they have so many different terrains. So I would probably say Bali at the moment.
Bali, yeah, that's really good. That's on my bucket list of places I want to go. And the last question is: I don't know if you're a big sports fan at all.
Not really, but I might be okay.
Yeah. So my general question was, what sport do you find the silliest and have trouble understanding why others actually enjoy it?
I am gonna say football.
Oh.
Sorry. Like, I grew up really enjoying basketball, but I think football for me, I would always see like, oh, players at like something happened to them and they're rolling on the ground. So I'm like, what is going on here? I respect it because my mum used to play professional football, but watching it, I can't. I'm so sorry.
Wow.
Yeah, there is quite a lot of diving in football. Some even better than actual swimming divers. Just rolling around like they've been literally bitten by a shark. So yeah, I can see in that aspect. Although I am a big football fan, big Manchester United fan, but I can see from that point of view. I know. Thank you for being a guest on the CBBB podcast. But before we completely wrap up, the floor is yours, Shai, and just let our audience know, where can people follow you on your journey, or if they want to, connect with you on social media, where can they go?
Oh, of course. Well, if anyone wants to connect up, we're always open and welcoming if you need any support or guidance on your journey, whether you want to become a publisher, a speaker, or anything in between. You can follow our family account, which should be the Ben Salmi family on Instagram. You can head over to my website, which is lifeaccordingtolashai.com. Or if you're interested in dabbling in the Korean space, you can follow my Korean platform called Halyukon.
Halyukon. And so, if I was to go on that platform today, time frame I could get good with learning the Korean language. What do you reckon? If I did it every day, 6 months? Could I be good with Korean?
To be honest, yes. Like, I think you could become pretty proficient in that time period, but you could learn, once again, you could learn the alphabet over the weekend. Very simple, 24 characters, pretty straightforward.
Did you find it easy to get started with learning Korean?
For me, I became a bit stagnant with my learning because I ended up being in the space. I was like, I will just stay with what I know because I'm going to be in this Korean government space anyway. But half the time we speak English, so it's quite easy. You pick up words and it's easy to sense what's going on. And I would say Korean people culturally are very welcoming, so you don't need to go to Korea with perfect Korean. They will try to speak English to you, but learning the alphabet, I done it in one night, so that's my little record. So I challenge anyone else to give it a go.
There's the challenge for the week, guys. Learn the Korean alphabet.
Yes.
And see in a day. In a day. Well, that's all we've got time for, folks. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. And Lashai, thank you again for being our guest.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Blair.
No.
Lashai Ben Salmi. What a guest.
Well, I guess for such a young age, she's achieved just so much. It was really interesting to hear her journey, just starting out, being inspired by her mother Sabrina, who we had on a previous episode, to just bringing out the inner potential of a lot of young people, not just in London, but all around the world, and just a working career as well, and picking up the language and just winning awards for all these different accolades. It's just really inspiring. What about yourself?
Yeah, I thought it's very interesting in terms of that episode. Just like I mentioned on there, most people's second language is generally if it's French or an Italian or a German or whatever, but she's actively gone out of her way to learn Korean, and has been embedded in the Korean culture, and now has designed a business which revolves around promoting Korean culture and helping people learn the language. And it's absolutely fantastic, and a number of awards, multi-award winning author at just such an early age is fantastic. And she had some really, really great stuff that she said. I remember you asked the question of the 3 key skills.
Yeah, the 3 key skills being collaboration, which we've had a lot of guests pointing out with putting yourself out there to collaborate. But the one that's really stuck with me is be delusional. So it doesn't matter how weird, wacky your dreams are, or maybe how out out of reality of your dream might be, is just go for it. Set in your mind and set a target to just go with that dream. And you never know what your reality might be. And then the third skills you're saying is just remembering to rest, because starting out on a journey like this, it's so easy to, just work every hour that God sends. But one of the things you always have to remember is you have to take some time out for yourself. And it's just remembering that at the end of the day, we're all human. We all need time for ourselves, and we all need to recharge our batteries like everyone else. Otherwise, we're just going to end up eventually burning yourself out.
Yeah, but I think the fundamental thing, and it's what her books are about, is as a young person, dare to dream.
Yeah.
Like, don't let anything stop you from achieving what you want to achieve. And she Lashai obviously spoke about her experience of getting bullied at a young age, and some individuals can take it one way where they can almost have that mindset of, oh well, been bullied, then I don't think confidence levels aren't highest, and sometimes don't go out there and achieve their dream because of sometimes the psychological damage that can do. But Lashai has turned it around and said, you know what, I'm going to be a success no matter what, and has been able to develop that app, the anti-bullying app, and has been able to write books about it, and she's now defying all the odds and doing the stuff that she loves to do.
It seems like that mindset essentially has been is in all of the Ben Salmi family, really. They're all entrepreneurs in their own right, and it seems they had that mindset installed into them by their mother Sabrina. So it's just it was great to have Lashai on today, hearing her backstory and what motivates her to be as successful as she is, and just to hear about her changing the mindset of the young people, and not to be scared of failure, because it's only through the quote Lashai said is not failure, but was it progression? Yeah. So there's no such thing as failure. It's always progression. So you're always going to learn and pick up things even when you don't get them right. And it's truly a real life lesson that everyone can pick up in terms of your own, either your journey as an entrepreneur, your journey in business, your journey in family or friends. It's just you're always picking up and learning things that you can take away on your journey. And it was great to hear Lashai's story, and it'll be good to bring her back on for another podcast episode, maybe in a year or 2 years' time, to see where she is in terms of her career.
Yeah, but no, I think what's fantastic is what Sabrina has installed in all her kids. It feels like her kids are now installing that mindset in the other kids who outside of the family who are looking to get into entrepreneurship. So that's really fantastic to see in terms of the community work that they're doing. And that would definitely be interesting to see, keep up to date with what they're doing in the future, and then come back on the podcast again one day and find out some of the more amazing things that Lashai is doing. But yeah, no, that's all we've got time for today with this episode of the See Me Be Me podcast. If you've liked it, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We are on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook at The Blair Project. We're also on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Get Me Motoring. Like I said, that's all we got time for. Stay tuned for another exciting episode, and peace out.
Peace out, guys.
If you've liked today's episode, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. The Blair Project is on all major social media platforms, including Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube at The Blair Project. We're also on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Yes, we are on TikTok at Get Me Motoring. If you'd like to follow myself individually, I am on Instagram at Nile Henry, and also LinkedIn at Nile Henry as well.
And if you want to follow myself, I'm on Instagram as BlairHenry_97, and also on LinkedIn as just Blair Henry.
So we look forward to having you on the next episode. So stay tuned. Take care.
Until next time.